what you could do is kind of give your name and where you're from, and then kind of how you got into the military, and then go on to your story, and then any wisdom to kind of wrap it up would be just so terrific.
Yeah, okay.
We're rolling.
I'm Victor Peterson from Kane, Pennsylvania. I joined the Air Corps in June 29th, 1940, and I went to New York, to Fort Slocum, and then I got on the transport to Leonard Wood, and we went down through the Panama Canal, and it took 17 days to get to Hawaii. And when I got to Hawaii, I was put in the 6th Pursuit Squadron, and there was a period there where they really didn't. We were actually waiting to go to school. I went to armament school in Hickam Field, and in between there, I was a chauffeur for the doctor at Wheeler Field, Colonel Smith. And after I went to school, I was put in the 44th Pursuit Squadron, and I was in the 44th Pursuit Squadron when the attack came. And I was stationed at Wheeler Field, but the squadron was put out at Bellows Field for ground gunnery just a month before the attack took place. And on the morning of the attack, I just got out of, we were in tents, and I just got up, and about the same time there was an airplane come in from the sea, and he fired his guns, and we just didn't know. After all, you got to realize we never expected anything like this, and there was a little bit of confusion among ourselves. Was that a Japanese airplane? And I did notice when I went through, I didn't get a good look at it, that red ball on the side of the fuselage. And so that alerted us, and our planes were parked, and the crew chiefs, they just went down to the line there, and they started the engines up, and they dispersed the airplanes. But in the meantime, right after, just before that, we couldn't believe it, but here came a B-17 in, and we knew that that runway was probably too short for it. It was only 1,200 feet, and he went down the runway and ended up in the sugarcane field there, and there's a little town there next to Bellows Field called Waimanilo, and there was a sugar mill there. So that's where they ended up, just to get down out of the air. After all, they had flown from the West Coast all night, and they were out of gas and so forth and so on, so they had to get down out of the air. And let's see, in the meantime, we did load our planes, and it was, so we were attacked out at Bellows Field by the second wave. I know I had just buttoned down the cowling over the 50 caliber guns on the P-40 that I was working on, and I looked towards Kaneohe, and I see a squadron of planes coming right towards us, and I told the fellows, the crew chief and them, I says, "Here they come." And everybody got off that airplane and run and tried to get hide. Me and my helper, a chap by the name of Klein, he followed me, and we just laid out in the open ground while they strafed us. And we had two airplanes attempted to take off. Lieutenant Whiteman and Sam Bishop, they were Lieutenant Sam Bishop, they both took off under fire, and Whiteman's plane stalled and come down in a flat spin, and it was burning, and so he was killed right there. But Bishop, he got out over the ocean, and he had to ditch, and he swam back, but we had one other pilot by the name of Christensen, Lieutenant Christensen. He saw them coming also, and he'd crawled out of his airplane, but unfortunately he was killed right there. And our airplanes, we were lucky, they didn't suffer too much damage. What I mean is they didn't catch fire, but however, our gasoline truck, that burned up. So we had a good fire there out in Bellows Field. And there was one guy there that was in the 47th Observation Squadron. That was a 3-seater, and he had got a 30 caliber gun and put there in the rear cockpit. And so he did shoot at him, and that's about the only people that shot at the attacking force. And it wasn't too long. I mean, immediately after the attack, we got on our airplanes. They did have holes in them, like I say, but they didn't burn up. And we had everything back in shape by evening. And whatever, if they needed us, they would have called on us. But however, in the morning of December 8th, they scrambled our squadron, and we had 2 airplanes, unfortunately, run together at the end of the runway there where they were taking off. And not only that, the squadron, we had laid out on the beach all night because I did have a portable radio. And you can't believe the false reports that were coming in to the people, and they were hearing these reports on their radios, and it really upset people. They were there was paratroopers coming down. There was there was Germans flying the airplanes. Just unbelievable reports like that, and it upset the public. And I know one of our guys, Corporal Rosenberg, he was on. They had picked him, and the following day or a couple days, they run down those radios that was broadcasting this stuff. But you know, it upset the public and people that didn't know what was going on. But when we laid out on the beach all night. In the first place, we didn't have any guns, and during the day on the 7th, in the afternoon, they had a magazine there at Bellows Field, so I got a Springfield rifle and 2 45s that I put in my hip pocket, and all the ammunition that I could stick in my pockets, expecting I might have to use it. But however, in the morning of December 8th, when we looked out from Bellows Field there, here sat a submarine out there. And that was one of the 2-man submarines that had tried to get in the harbor here. And the ensign Sukamaki, the Japanese, and he had another man with him. They had drifted all the way around this island to Bellows Field during the night. And they were running on batteries, those submarines, and it finally, then they drifted into Bellows, and they got stuck on the reef, and their fumes were so bad in the submarines, you know, they decided they better get out of there, which they did. And Sakamaki and him, they swam in towards Bellows. Sakamaki made it, but the other fellow, they never found him. And so next morning, it was real cold, he said, because he took everything off. And the Hawaiian National Guard, of course, they had, during the day before, they had been activated, and they were guarding the beaches and stuff like that. He found them on the beach at Bellows Field. So he became the first prisoner of war of World War II. And they took him down to Shafter, and naturally he had to go through that, all the questions they had to ask him for. They had 5 of those submarines, and I think 2 of them got into the harbor, and if you've been on the cruise here, they came through that channel because they had that channel so they could shut it off with the gate. It wasn't a gate, but it was a meshing somewhere. You know what I mean? And they sunk them in the harbor. And I think that one at Bellows, I understood that they took it to Key West. You know what I mean? But they say it's not there anymore. It's somewhere, probably, something about World War II. So that was my story of Bellows Field. Except I had a friend that was up at Wheeler. He was in an aircraft ordnance, and he said he'd just come back from being up there, got breakfast, and they were in barracks at the end of the field, and him and a buddy, they were just playing some catch and stuff, and they looked up at Coley Pass on the west side of the field there. There's a place called Coley Pass. He said that he looked over there and he saw this whole squadron of planes coming. And he told his friend, they don't look like our airplanes. And they weren't. And the trouble is, when I'm pointing out at Wheeler, those planes that were loaded with bombs and everything else, and when they hit Wheeler, it was just, you know what I mean? They had the airplanes up at Wheeler Field dovetailed because they had a big parade there the day before. And when them Japanese, you know what I mean? When they strafed them, they caught fire and they burned right into it because the gas tank was right back of the pilot on P-40. So the engine laid there and the tail laid there, and there was melted metal in between. So that's all I can tell you about Wheeler. I wasn't there, but his name was Ritter Peterson, and the war kind of affected him all his life.
Well, sure. Well, thank you very much for those wonderful stories. Maybe just real quickly, just for 1 second, just any kind of wrap-up thoughts about war and peace and about being prepared, anything like that, that just us young kids or youngsters can learn from you guys.
Well, the National here, their slogan is "Be alert," and we had our own organization in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania survived the Pearl Harbor attack, and our slogan was "For peace, remember Pearl Harbor." And we hope today that they're on the alert, and there's a lot to the Pearl Harbor story. I mean, you've got to read it. If you want to read something, read The Aftermath of Pearl Harbor by Tolan. All the hearings they had 10 hearings following the war, not the war, during the war, about why didn't they know here that the Japanese, that fleet was 32 ships, six aircraft carriers, and the average guy, all we knew about it as soldiers in the Army, I didn't know. They said, rumor always was, all they got is old biplanes and stuff like that. Well, on that morning, we found out they had more than just biplanes. That Zero was quite an airplane. And it's like I say, the intelligence was there, but you've got to read your history good to find out about that they could, in other words, Nimitz and Short, their hands were sort of tied.
Yes.
They only dared to go just so far. They bunched the planes because they were worried about sabotage and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the Japanese people, they didn't sabotage anything, but that was orders from Washington, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So
yes.
You still scratch your head about it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing your place in history. And again, just thank you for your service, and just what a great day. And thanks to you and your family for letting me take a couple of minutes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is a beautiful day. That's all I can say. And thank God that we can get together. It's even the Japanese. I mean, we're good friends now, and we look forward that our leaders will continue to keep that going. You know what I mean? I know last time I was here 4 years ago, I went over there to the museum and I stood beside two Japanese tech pilots that were here, and I had my picture taken. And it was nice to, they didn't understand me and I didn't understand them, but we shook hands.
One of the first Pearl Harbor remembrances I went to, there was a Hiroshima victim there, and to see everyone agree that war is terrible, let's prevent war, let's be prepared to prevent war.
Right.
Yes, that's what smart
exactly
people
what we're trying to do. But there's one thing about it: you've got to have Army, Navy, and everything that people respect. I mean, the enemy too. That they can't get away with stuff that's